Online, right? Yes. Okay. Okay, yeah. This is easy. Okay. Um, Welcome to live interaction section, and this will be our last live interaction section in Learning Analytics Tools course. So there are a couple of questions in the forum. Most of the questions are already answered. So one specific question is, can I use LA for blended learning environment? Of course, in a recent research, that is the key area, because due to pandemic, people are moving towards a blended kind of approach where um, the course material can be in a flipped classroom. The content is given to you already, and the student teacher interacting in a classroom to solve particular problem. So the blended method is kind of new, and the most research focus is happening here. For example, we know the student is interacting with the system in a particular time, but is the student really interacting or student understanding the content? These questions are not answered till now in research, and it depends on domain. Okay, it's not that a single formula can be applied to all the domain, also on the different kind of systems or the activity students do in the system. So to answer that, yes, you have flipped classroom or blended mode of learning, like online plus face-to-face kind of communication. Please apply learning analytics. The only key issue is, do you have a data to do that? So for example, LMS Sky, like a Moodle, definitely provide you the data of a login time, or they access the content in a seconds level, but they don't provide the student watch the video, or did the student interact with the system. These questions are not answered. So those things has to be thought of. So, and if you don't have data to collect, as I mentioned also in the week 12 videos, please talk to some students and try to create a simple workaround scripts to extract the data. It's not really, really a challenging task. If there are some interested computer science students or students who are interested in programming who want to create some system. That's a key. Okay, and there are a couple of questions about assignments, about this course, format of exam format, or so this all exam format is the NPTEL, NPTEL format, where you have MCQ and MSQs, or numerical short answers. It's not a subjective question here, and the exam format is traditional NPTEL format, that certain percentage for recall, certain percentage is for analyze level, and certain percentage is from apply level. So exams are the fixed format as per the NPTEL template. So yeah, regarding the assignments, if we have, I think we have rectified almost all the issues with assignments. We have changed the grade, change the answer key, or we have removed those questions from the grading, so that it will not impact your scores in the NPTEL exams. If you have any issues, please let us know immediately so that it can be resolved. Okay. Another thing I mentioned in the video, also virtual video, and also in the last interaction section, that it's important, if from this course, if you understand the basics of learning analytics, that is, uh, what is the data, what data to collect, what are the features to extract from the data, and after you extract the features from the data, and you should be able to apply whether clustering or clustering or any other type of predictive analytics. So I'm going to give you a simple exercise. So I request, no, I request to think of learning environment. If you have any learning environment, it's fine. If you have any learning environment, it is good. So I request you to think of that learning environment. So classroom environment, or maybe a virtual labs, or maybe teaching some mathematics to students. There are a lot of startup companies in the tech sector started teaching mathematics to kids or K-12 students. So consider that you have a different learning environment, and if you want to create a um, set of learning analytics, first think about what is the data you can collect. So I would ask you to first think about the data. So the data, that whether you have all interaction data, this is the behavior, the time they spent on some certain thing, or they worked on they access the resources, your duration and frequency. I mentioned repeatedly frequency and duration. Let's think of what kind of data you have, and from your expertise you come up with your own hypothesis. So this is not easy, even even if you think about the hypothesis. That's why I say that go and read the related literatures. You try to identify what are the questions they are asking, and from those questions you can come up with your own kind of questions to ask. Whether can I predict the students? That's a very common thing everybody asks you. And is the students' engagement changing over the period of time? Or it's a student interaction with the peers is affected due to something. So those kind of interesting questions you can ask, and so come up with a hypothesis. Then think of RQs. So if I want you to think of a system, first think of the RQs. This RQs has come from this uh, just a minute. A lot of batteries. Okay, so whenever you think of learning system, let's first think about the research questions. This research question has to come from the data you have. Don't forget the data, whatever data you have, and also the types of interaction in the system students can do types of interaction, with the system, and do your post-test, pre-test data, and do your profile data. And do you have any other data? Do you have any questionnaires to ask it? So think about all this data you have it. Using the data, come up with your own research questions. So the research question should think about the data you are doing and what is the target audience. That's one thing you already know, because that is the convenient sampling. Whichever audience you have access to, you will do that. So come up with the target audience and think about the data you have, the pre-test, post-test. All this information is needed to create the RQs. Once you have RQs, do the descriptive analytics. I'm okay if you think of RQ after doing descriptive analytics. That is how best way. Okay, so do the descriptive analytics, and then you do the diagnosis. Then work on predictive analytics or some other questions you are trying to answer. So the important challenge is, given the data you can collect, or with the help of someone you can collect some data, think about the data you can have, and all other data included, like not just the interaction system, pre-test, post-test, students, if it is a classroom, think about the attendance or the performance of the exam scores, everything. Collect all this information, and with those information try to answer your question, and do the descriptive analytics, and you come up with your own hypothesis and test it. That will be the good chance. The community I mentioned, the two communities I mentioned in the The two communities I mentioned in the week 12, that is EDM and LAK, they welcome a lot of researchers, and so they no they don't hesitate to interacting with new researchers or new questions. So go and apply and interact. Most of these conference will happen as online mode next year also, like in 2021 also. So the deadlines are around February. So if you have any questions, you can think of that and applying to doctoral consortium or discussion papers, or if you have a proper research questions with proper data, you can submit to a full paper, and that will give a good interaction with the audience. But although the online conference will not make you interact with all the researchers, I would say that attending that such a conference will give you exposure, with less cost. You can avoid the cost of traveling to a conference. So I would suggest, think of writing some paper for this conference. So that's one thing I would want everyone to think about it. And the second one I was thinking about the old course is, if you have collected data, if you are able to perform some analytics on the learning environment data, think of which part of analytics you are taking. For example, not everything about analytics is predicting the performance. As I mentioned, you can do the work on ethics part of analytics. You can work on dashboard creation, which dashboard is much used by the teacher or the end users, or you can think of you can think of modeling students with the multi-channel data. That's also a possibility. So look at the recent conference proceedings and come up with your own interest, and always consider data you guys have. That based on the data you think of what the next steps. And so that's all about the course. And I also talked about if you are short of any resources, don't hesitate. Go ahead and search in internet. All the resources are available, and whatever I was talking about is all from the existing resources. It's not that it's a book or something is available for LA. There's no book actually written to teach this kind of course. So these are applied level courses, whereas a new field started 10 years back. And book of learning art is the first one come from Solar community, and that is also bunch of 10 papers combined to give a feel of learning analytics. So interact more, read books, and that will help you to find out the research area and work on that. If you're interested in machine learning, yeah, please go and watch the other courses to understand the machine learning in depth and apply the education there. Okay. I think that's all I have from the assignment questions, sorry, the discussion forums, and also the question slides. And let's see, is it possible to identify the self-direction skills of learners clearly? Can you please explain what is self-direction? There are a couple of theory there. It's called self-regulated learning. If you mean that, the self-regulated learning is the self-regulated learning is basically what do you say? Self-regulated learning is how students self-regulate, considering the different constructs like cognition, their level of understanding, the metacognition, whether they're able to apply the right strategy on right place, are they monitoring their application level, are they changing it, and also the emotion. So if a student is trying hard to answer something and is not able to achieve that goal, the student's emotion changes. It can be boredom or frustrated, or confused or surprised sometimes. How the student is actually able to cope up with that emotion, also the motivation. So this is called self-regulated learning. This is a complex interplay of all these constructs, and how the students are able to manage these things and succeed in the learning. It says that some people were able to manage emotion on the motivation. They have high motivation, they're able to continue in the course, they're able to learn and achieve well. Some students who are not highly motivated, they have trouble in completing the course. So yeah, So that is the one thing called self-regulated learning. If you can explain what is self-direction skills, please explain it. The one way I think about is anything, any learning theory, self-regulation, motivation, thinking skills, estimation skills, or competition thinking skills. All these skills can be established, can be measured by data. That's called the learning. Learning analysis will to do extract discipline. The first step is that can you, as a human, deduct it from the students' interaction with the system, or the gesture, or posture, or the facial expressions, or they speak by by talking to them in an interview. Can you identify it as a human? If you can identify it, please identify it with the students interacting with the system, post or during interaction, or pre-interaction, or post-interaction. List down that and try to map those set of skills to the log data you have. Once you have a system to identify the students self-direction or something X, and if you can construct that from the log data, yes, of course you can go ahead and do that. That's the only thing I would say that. So, and the only thing is please consider inter-observer reliability, because you're going to do that. How to collaborate Solar to work on? Okay, it's an interesting question. Solar is also a very good community, and they started like 10 years ago. So what they do three things. One is they conduct a conference every year. So write a paper to Solar community. That's the first thing to do. And if you get a chance, go there and get to meet, talk to people, or present it via online, get a connection, and create a interact with them. That's what we actually go and interact many people. That's a one place. If you're a student and if you're still interested in solar, attend the summer workshop. They have a summer workshop in solar, and that is that happens every year in the US, in 3 or 4 universities in a round. And if it happens in New York, so they give students a free, how do I say, the students, they give first free registration fees, and they give accommodation cost and a minimal travel. Say they get $300 for the travel. So other two things are covered. So from India, you might need to spend some more money, another $600 you have to spend to attend the summer workshop for a week. But that workshop will help you to interact with all the people in the solar community. Most of the senior researchers like Phil Winnie or Professor Baker, they all come as lecturers, and you can interact with them, and you might talk to the like-minded researchers, the young researchers in a solar community. So that is a very useful one. Couple of the students I guided during my postdoc I appeared for the solar workshop. So that's a good one. And the third one is they have a journal. That's the third one. More than that, there's one more thing. I started recently. Solar is also have a Solar Asia group. We are part of trying to create that Solar Asia group with the Professor Ogata's lab in Japan. And they have a lot of data can be collected from different environments. We are trying to form a consortium for Asia, and we got some fund from Solar to start that. And we are thinking that as an institute, can we join and create a lot of membership in India, or there's a different discussion going on. I think sooner we will have Solar Asia community. That's what our aim. If other projects, you have to talk to the researchers directly in the solar community. Then yeah, you will be able to interact and get the data. And so a lot of researchers are really interested to replicate their studies in a different context, especially in India, or different countries like Europe and Africa. So most of this research in LA is happened, data is from the US. So all the researchers really want to compare their data with researchers in other contexts. So yeah, try to contact them, and that is one way you can start working on the solar project. First, find out what is your research interest and where you want to go. That's very important. What are the courses, websites do you recommend if one wants to make a career? Oh, analytics is different from learning analytics. I'm not, no, I'm not eligible to talk about analytics in general. Now it's called business intelligence or learning data analytics, data science. It's everywhere. So they basically what they do, as per my knowledge, you have to learn a programming first, the script language or Python is really good, and learn with some good environment. And once you learn the script language, what you can do is you can uh, understand the basics of these tools or the libraries you use in both scripts, and go and understand more about each machine learning concept you use. Most of this analytics in companies talk about, companies talk about linear regression, logistic regression, and very this A and all. It's not real. It's in research level. Are they using really in the analytics in the company? Not yet. The most of the analysts as now is still in the linear logistic regression or sometimes support dimensions. They want to explainable AI and not a black box. So you can study the basics of machine learning, also understand how this weight function, how they were using this training algorithm. If you understand those basics of one or two algorithms, manipulate them in the tool you want to use it, Orange or Tableau or Power BI, anything. So choose the tool that will give you the good start in the analytics career. If it is specific to learning analytics, that's what I'm saying. Learning analytics kind of just borrowing the analytics on a learning data. So you have to start about thinking about the data you have, and which machine ML model you can use. Since we are applied, I would say the knowledge of using what is this particular machine learning model, how it works in general. I don't expect people to understand the math behind all these things. What are the simple parameters which actually tells what the output means? Can you infer that output? If you're able to get that abstract idea of the system input, how it works, and what will be the inference. If you understand that, that is enough for the learning analytics, and that's a thing. Unfortunately, although there are hundreds of edtech companies, there India is one of the top top unicorn companies in edtech or in India. Uh, Not many companies are investing much on analytics. They have one analytics person, general analytics person who talk about data, frequency, other students is using it. They're not really thinking about domain with a learning domain. So that will change, since lots of people are moving to online. A lot of data has been collected. I think in a couple of years, things will change, and there will be a career in the learning analytics too, especially in India. As part of SQL skills, I mean to say, okay, self-direction skills, motivation, uh, prediction strategy, pay attention, etc. Okay, this self-direction, skills is exactly I was just saying. So when I was talking about self-regulated learning, this is kind of another keyword has been really researched well in the last 2 years. A lot of people invest time on that. It involves motivation, attention. That's we call attention is basically how much a student is spending time on it or paying attention. So cognitive attention. The prediction strategy, as we call it, a cognitive strategy. Like if given a task to the student, a new complex problem, student immediately think about, oh, this is a complex problem and I want to solve it, and based on his prior knowledge, and he thinks that, oh yeah, so I can apply the things I applied in the previous problems, or something which I already worked I should apply. Or basic skill strategies that I will read the given information, try to understand what are the characters, what are the variables in it, what are the relationship within these variables, and I try to solve it. So a student is applying, the procedural knowledge. Okay, he has the conceptual knowledge, then he is applying the procedural knowledge. And how he is applying the procedural knowledge, how he is changing this, the strategy of reading and applying or testing it. This strategy change, it is called the cognitive strategies. We think this process is like a student is planning and applying some strategy. After applying strategy is monitoring whether my strategy works or not. Not monitoring as such, visible to others is, in a mind you are monitoring whether this particular thing works or not. Oh, in a midway you think, without even checking, without even taking a test, without even comparing with the external assessment, you feel that this particular strategy might not work. That's awareness. You're monitoring that you got awareness. Then you change, replan, or react to that, and apply the new strategy. Okay. Here a lot of things are there. One is self-efficacy, and that's called, motivation and replanning, and you're applying the new strategies. You're learning a new strategy that works. Then you continue. After that, you are comparing yourself, your outcome with the external standard. External standard will be something, there's a test you are taking. For example, a student is taking a test, and we might think, the student is taking test, and his student got 50 out of 100. We might think the student is not really it's above, below average. I think you have to give more data information. If you think about the student, each student is different. The student's self goal is, he want to get only 50 mark in the test. You don't want to get 90 or something. So the student compares his own goal with the external standard, and he makes, okay, I'm in a particular goal. So this process is called SRL, and it involves metacognition and cognitive strategies and motivation, also the affect. So I'm not able to. There might be a connection between subtraction skills and SRL, but I need to check it out. But yeah, this is mostly we call it as SRL. There are good models to discuss this. Zimmerman's model, cyclic model, or Vinian Hadmin's model called Cope's model, where conditions, operations, everything is evaluations, and so there are some models which different phases which talks about it. Why we are thinking to a particular model is that once there's a model, we try to collect the data to fit that model, and that's easy to explain the processes. That's why we are going to the theorists, psychology people. They created a model. We are trying to connect to that model. So motivation, prediction strategy, and attention is all connected to self-regulated learning as per our understanding. So LA research trends in India. That's what I was trying to say. Recently, say 7-8 years back, the trend has started picking up. Very few edtech companies I know a decade ago was working on data collection and try to predict and try to do some analysis there, and they are still doing it, and they have become a kind of have a research lab, and researchers working on education data, trying to change the content and do a lot of work on that. And those companies are the ones who are working. Most of the other companies in such trend in India, and it's not. For example, you can take any famous personalized systems. Now you can take it and look at it, and are they adapting based on your answers? You give a wrong answers 2 times or 3 times, are you getting anything? It's just some standard kind of feedback you get. So the adaptation is not happening. If adaptation is not happening, means they are not doing any analysis in the back end. The other way to look at it, other way to look at it is that, how do I say? So in a commercial space, it's not happening much, but it will happen soon due to this current situation. A lot of people are moving towards online, and I hope a lot of companies will be investing on that. That's the one thing. And in academic research, it just started. I would say like last 5 years back, it started, and a lot of people are thinking in learning analytics, applying to their data, and it's started, but it's very basic steps. Not really the level where you can write a research paper and you can go ahead and compete in research community. Whenever I look at the papers in EDM or LAC, I always see there are few people from India except presenting the paper and presenting work. I've seen companies like big research labs and software research labs are presenting the papers. So go and look at the last 2019 or 2018 or 2020's LAC or EDM papers. You will see there are a few specific Indian software companies are presenting their work there. So it started. it's in a nascent stage, but there is a need for forming a group within India, and that will help to help each other and collect data, share the data, and so the others can do research. That is a need, and I hope that will start soon. Yeah, that's also our vision, to start a group, special interest group in LDA within India, and let's interact with researchers in a periodic basis, and see whether we can collect data. We can collect data and anonymize the data, and share the repository among researchers. That can lead to many research questions, and to answer collaboration is possible. That's a way we are thinking of. So yeah, let's see how it goes. Study material prior to exams. I guess the materials, TAs are working hard to, the PPTs are there, they will upload it soon. Also the transcripts, they are completed almost half of the videos, and they are working, another couple of days they will upload it. The reason is there's an exam time. Although they were online courses, the exam just happened for students, and also they were going through their own annual presentations. They were busy for last 2 weeks, so I think everything will be back on track now. And in 2 days, I hope you will get the PPTs and the transcripts. What are the ML algorithms do you recommend to study for academics as well as the okay, so that's what I was trying to say. It all depends on where you start. So I would say start with linear regression and logistic regression. Both are kind of same. The reason I'm telling you linear regression is there you can understand how this the training happens. What are the error correction methods, because there's a weights. Linear regression is actually learning some weights for the given variables. There's a relation between two different variables. I see everything as a matrix. We try to solve a solution. If there's no solution, we're trying to find out close proximal solution. That is what ML is all about. So I will recommend you to start with linear regression, understand how this training happens, logistic regression, then look at the support data machine. There's a small key change compared to the way you look at linear regression support data machine. In support data machine, each data it's not each features become they go into a higher dimensional kernels. Don't worry about how they are converting to another dimensional kernels. It's not it's another set of things. I'm not saying don't read about it. It's not really important. But try to understand there are some set of data which cannot be classified in a given dimension. Suppose you have 5 dimensions. There are 5 features and there are 5 dimensions. If the 5 dimensions are not able to cut a perfect prediction between positive and negative, what they try to do is, if you have 100 students data, that is, they convert this each data. It's not actually mathematically correct, but I'm saying in abstract sense. Convert that into a features, and 100 dimension become 5 dimension data become 100 dimension, and there you can make a distinction between positive and negative. So they transform the given data to higher dimensions using kernels, and they do it. So what are the kernels they use? They use tan sigmoid. Then the tan sigmoid is the logic you used for the logistic regression. So I recommend you to understand what is linear regression, logistic regression clearly, and the basics of SVM. That's all good for basic ML understanding. In a supervised, in unsupervised, to understand the clustering mechanisms. And this is the two linear regression or regression analytics. SVM is kernel-based classification. One from naive-based, one on decision tree. There's a difference. Decision tree linear logistic gives you which particular variable contributed to the impact on dependent variable, whereas SVM or neural networks won't tell you exactly that kind of explanations for why the reward system worked or not. So classify into explainable AI and like a black box kind of thing like SVM, and do that. So this is enough for a educational set of data in academics. If you have a lot of data, So that's one key problem in education. I think we don't have much data in the sense thousands of data. Then you have to think about the ML, machine learning. I mean to say you have to think about the neural networks thing. So that's the only way. So I would recommend go with linear regression, logistic regression, understand the sigmoid function clearly and how the trains are weights are trained, and go for SVM. That is enough for regression and kernel-based models. And you might know what is naive-based now, and you know the decision tree now. That much is enough, and also the other one on clustering mechanism. This is enough academically to apply your skills, to create, look at the data and analyze. As I mentioned sometime back in one of my videos, 4 years ago, like 5 years ago, people ask which algorithm to apply for which kind of data. If I have only 200 instances of data with 7 features, should I apply naive-Bayes or SVM? Or I have only 3 features, but I have thousands of data. Should I apply naive-Bayes or SVM? These were the questions, and there was answers. You can use naive-Bayes if you have if you have a good probability differentiation, you can use the naive-Bayes. Or less data, SVM might work. Or some kernels in SVM works for less amount of data. But that's not the key question asked now in the research community. The reason is there are a lot of tools like a big ML, auto ML, or Orange or Rapid Miner, where all these tools usage is kind of easier. And for example, auto ML, you give a data, you pick 10 or 5 algorithms, and it actually changes it changes the values of variables, and it tries to find out the best fit. So this question of which training algorithm and which variables, what variables I should use, it's not really important in the applied ML kind of problems. It is very key in a core ML problems where they try to improve the performance, or they try to reduce the time of a particular problem. That is important. When you are thinking about the applied ML areas where like learning analytics, this is one big key problem. So understanding these 5 basics ML algorithms is enough to work on this field. What is the pragmatic ambiguity with respect to? Okay, this is completely NLP, and now I'm not eligible to even answer that. That's my that's my answer. Sorry. So yeah, I've done that. I've just worked for 2 years in NLP field. I've worked on this, but yeah. Okay, I guess that's end of the questions, and thank you. I hope you learn something from this course. It's not that the course is completely different, and it's not something useful to your your work or your research. If it is useful, and I'm very happy. And if you have more of resource content, always check in this to community. They are the one who started. They're working good. And there are other more conferences I listed in the last week of the LA, and there are few more new conferences and journals are coming in. Look at those and work on that. If you're a researcher, please work on if you work on this research problems and publish your work there, and always contribute back to such community. So the new information is coming from some different context or a different set of students. This and all, it's important to contribute to community, also to make a visibility about learning analytics in India. So thank you all for taking this course. Also thank you for participating in current live sessions, and all the best for the exams. We will definitely announce that for the special interest groups for LA in India. Yeah, we are in the process of forming some society. Then we like to start about that special interest group of in Asia. We already have one from Japan. We are part of it. We want to create one in India so that locally we can communicate with the researchers, like-minded people, collect data. That will be a good start, and in fact we can also think about uh, meetings or different publications. That's what we are discussing. Thanks everyone.